Okay, so this is perspective drawing again, so we're going to need to have vanishing points. So what do we have to do first? Before I can place the vanishing points, though, where do they go?
In the middle.
No?
On the opposite sides in the middle.
But like where? How do I know where to put them? What do I need to do first?
The horizon line?
Yes, I need to put a horizon line. So, right down the middle of the page here, again, I'm doing landscape, not portrait, so I'm long ways. I'm going to make my horizon line, and then you are correct because this is 2-point perspective. I'm going to put a point on either side of that horizon line, and I want to make them as far away from each other as I possibly can. Hi.
Hello, do you have every page? How's it going, man?
Thank you. All right, so with 2-point perspective, I have made you guys a little cheat sheet, and I will get these copied for you. This is going to be something. By the way, I know I said that there's a quiz, and there is a quiz, but it's open note. So you can use all the things that you drew in class these first couple days as references, and I'm also going to copy this for you to use. It's a step-by-step guide. Because I'm not trying to trick you with the quiz, I'm trying to see how much of it you can figure out to do on your own, because when we get to the point where you actually are drawing your own, it gets very challenging and you're all going to need help at the same time. But there's ways you can kind of go back to your notes that we've been drawing and use them as a reference, okay? So these notes are not that you're taking now are not wasted. You're going to want to use them, okay? So the first step, and I'm going to take you through this sheet, this step by step. The first step of 2-point perspective is that we are going to create a corner. So the very first thing that we're doing is we're going to place a box that is directly on the horizon line. Now, when I say create a corner, I am talking about this corner that faces you. Yes, technically these are corners of a box too, but because I need to distinguish between this and this, when I am talking about the corner, I'm always saying the one that's facing you, and when I'm talking about these, I call them the sides of the box, okay? That's just going to help you know which part I'm talking about. So step 1 is to create a corner. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a vertical, and I got to keep my line straight, line, and I want it to pass through the horizon line. So I want some above and some below the horizon line. So go ahead and do that. I want it pretty small because we need to save some space because we're going to add some other boxes in different places.
And this be used to draw a taco truck?
Yep. Here it is drawing a car, eventually. Okay. Once you have your corner, step 2 is to create guidelines. Step 2 is creating guidelines to the vanishing point. So from the top of this corner, you're going to make a line to this vanishing point, and I'm going to make my lines really light because there's going to be a lot of erasing that happens, and it'll make my life easier if I don't have to erase hard. So from the top and the bottom of this corner, I'm going to create guidelines to my vanishing point. So it's really just going to look like a big diamond shape. Hi. Yeah. Thank you. Can anybody guess what step number 3 is going to be?
Edges of the...
Yeah, it's making the sides. So step number 3 is to make the sides of the box. Now, you can choose how wide you want the box to be or how skinny you want the box to be. That is your choice. I want it to look pretty square, so I'm just going to make them about here. Though I do have to be sure that I stay vertical, though. If I turn, I'll end up with like this is how you would get like a pyramid versus a box with a sloped side. So that being said, another thing you're going to hear me say incessantly, and this is I'm going to put on the back side, and this is 2-point perspective rules, but a lot of it makes sense with 1-point perspective too, which is that if it's a vertical in real life, right, like it goes straight up and down like a tree trunk or something like a side of a building, it stays vertical. If it's a horizontal, it goes to a vanishing point. Now that is true in 1-point perspective on the side of the building that faces the street, but not so true on the side that faces the viewer. So that rule number 2 changes with 1-point perspective in that respect. And if it's a diagonal, you make it up. So you're gonna hear me say these things a lot, and that's one thing you can say. Am I drawing a vertical, a horizontal, or a diagonal? And if you can answer that question, then you know how to make the line. Okay? So these are vertical, sides are vertical, so I'm going to keep them vertical. All right, we're ready for step number 4. And step number 4 is to erase all unwanted guidelines. Now the unwanted guidelines are going to be the horizon line inside the building, because now we've just covered the horizon line with this. And then on the outside of the box, the top and the bottom so that it just becomes a cube sitting on the ground. So this kind of reminds me of, you'll start to see some overlap with all the assignments we do. We started talking about this kind of thing with the still life, right? If it's at eye level, if something is at eye level, you don't see the top or the bottom. This is at eye level. It also is not just resting on the horizon line, it actually is sitting on the ground and the horizon line is behind it. Grab me if you're struggling with that first box. First, create a corner straight up and down. Can you help her do that reflection? Hey, Manny.
Trying to
Get
get
up. Well, you can borrow one from me if you want to exchange for an ID. Oh,
Where are they?
Is she using her vanishing points, Jesse? Step 2, we're going to use vanishing points. So we put a vanishing point there, put a vanishing point there, and then we will just need to go from here to the vanishing point. an eraser. Put your ID in the box and then take an eraser. I'd put the ID in the box. It could get lost there. It's a mess on this desk. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, wow, that's brightened my light. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a box below the horizon line. So we're going to go through the steps again. You guys remember what was step 1? What is step 1? Create a corner. So this time, with your vertical corner, I want you to keep everything below the horizon line. Okay? Don't let it touch the horizon line that you made. Okay, step 2. Create the guidelines to the vanishing point. You will notice that depending on, and you don't have to make them go all the way if you don't want to, because it'll do less erasing. I always make it go all the way on the first one so you can really see it. But when I'm actually drawing in perspective, I just make them go as far as I think they need to, so I don't have to erase it all. So you'll notice that things changed depending upon our placement on the horizon line. Because this is below the horizon line, I'm going to get more of a bird's eye view than the one at eye level. So step 1 we did, which was creating a corner. Step 2, we made our guidelines to the vanishing point. Step 3 is going to be to make the sides of the box. So again, I want to make a vertical, and I want to make sure that I'm straight. So I'm going to look at that corner. I'm going to make sure I'm lined up. And step 4 is erase unwanted guidelines so I can get rid of that. Steps 1 through 4, and the box looks finished. But this one looks weird, doesn't it? Because it's entirely below the horizon line, we would see the top. So we have to put the top in. So on the worksheet that I made, there are 5 steps, but you don't always use all 5. You only use the 5th step if you need to create the top or bottom. So step number 5 is, if necessary, add the top or the bottom of the box. So the way that you do that is to use opposite vanishing points. So from this corner of the box, I am going to connect it to this vanishing point. So I will hold my pencil there, and I will make a mark. From this corner, I will go to this vanishing point. So this is slightly different from 1 point perspective, because 1 point perspective, you don't have an opposite vanishing point, so you end up making it just horizontal. But for 2 point perspective, you want to use opposite vanishing points. right, so I'm going to put this up here, and I'm going to walk around, and what I want you guys to try to do on your own is to create a box that's completely above the horizon line where you would see the bottom of the box. Try it on your own. Not today, because I got too much to cover. Okay, well that's why we're doing another one, so just do another one. And there's more paper right there, and more paper. This corner connects to here. This corner connects to there. Oh, you're talking about that part. Okay, yes. Yes. This. Sophia, if you want to watch, I'm going to do the one above. Now that's above, right? But if I do this, magic trick of the day.
Whoa, I didn't do it.
What kind of Toy Story is?
Okay, so we're going to go here with this, with sidewalks and windows and doors and all that kind of stuff, just like we did before. But where I want to start, just to kind of keep it simple and so that you guys can play for a couple minutes with this idea, are boxes on top of boxes. Okay? So it's kind of like the other one where we made the buildings and then we put buildings behind the buildings. As long as you know the steps, you can create boxes on top of boxes wherever you want. You just have to create corners. You make boxes under boxes. You just make a corner wherever you want to put a box, and then you follow the steps. So create a corner. Guidelines to a vanishing point. Got a little sloppy on that one, sorry. I can turn the boxes on top of boxes into chimneys. I can turn them into like more of the building. Sometimes you'll have to add the top or the bottom. Sometimes you won't. So I want you guys, you got a couple minutes, I want you to make a couple boxes on top of or underneath boxes. Don't do a box next to a box because that's a little tricky yet. I'm going to show you that later. But just do some boxes on top of boxes. You can add boxes wherever you want. Just follow the steps. Alright, so on Wednesday, we're going to finish off the windows, the doors, the sidewalk, the fences, all that kind of fancy stuff. And then, like I said, Thursday or Friday, you guys will have a quiz. Okay? So for today, go ahead and put your stuff away. We're going to need it again on Wednesday. Yeah.